But what I find even more compelling is that God made everything to have cycles, including vegetation and our needs as humans during different seasons. For example, fruits are more abundant during warm climate seasons and in warm climate regions, which are rich in carbohydrates. These carbohydrates help keep us, you guessed it, hydrated during the longer, hotter summer days.
Do you struggle to stay consistent with healthy eating and just want food decisions to be easy, guilt-free, and sustainable? You're in the right place. Hi, I'm Chelsea, nutritionist and fitness coach who overcame restrictive yo-yo dieting and body image insecurities using simple nutrition tools, all backed by biblical principles. And now I help women like you find that same freedom with food so you can feel confident in the look and health of your body for decades to come. I'm ready to dive in with you. So grab that cute notebook you've been hanging on to and let's go.
All right, my friend. I know we are already almost 2 weeks into January, but it is not too late to get started on that eat healthy consistently goal you want to conquer. I still have space in the Sustainable Way, my one-on-one nutrition coaching program, where the main goal is just that. Make healthy eating your forever lifestyle, second nature, all without it being confusing or taking all your energy. Head to coachrain.com/nutrition coaching to get more details about exactly what's inside the coaching process, ask me questions directly, and get enrolled today. Not next week, not February 1st, no. We can start now. That's coachreign.com/nutrition coaching. And now, welcome to Nutrition for Christian Women. You know, a question I get asked a lot is, so then what do you eat? Or another variation is, are you allowed to eat that on your diet? This actually used to frustrate and even offend me tremendously, as if I was this ultra-restrictive, judgmental chick when it came to food. But now I see it as the perfect opportunity to kindly educate on what eating biblically really looks like, especially in the modern Western world. So in today's episode, I'm going to walk you through exactly what I eat as a Bible-based nutritionist in hopes that it will encourage you with just how simple it can be. The main thing I want to start with is that every time I eat, be it a meal or a snack, which I call mini meals, I am always aiming to create a diamond meal. That means every time I eat, I'm including a protein, a vegetable, a starch, otherwise known as carbs, and a fat. Some folks call it a square meal, but I think of it more as a diamond because I do believe there is a hierarchy of importance amongst those components. This is something every single one of my nutrition clients learns from the start and the framework that they all find to be so simple that they can't not continue to use it even after our time working together is over. I give them extensive lists of foods that fall into each category, and then all they have to do is pick and choose the ones they want, cook if needed, and assemble. Super easy, yet extremely effective. So this is the foundation of what I eat every day. From there, the goal is to create as many combinations of diamond meals as possible to get the greatest variety of nutrients for my body, for which those lists that I just mentioned really come in handy. This is important for a couple of reasons. One, it keeps me from getting bored or burned out of eating the same thing day in and day out. Two, our gut microbiomes crave variety. Think about our hunter-gatherer days as people. We ate a variety of plants gathered from the wild and ate whatever animals we could hunt. Every plant and every animal species has its own set of micronutrients that support our gut health, which becomes energy and literally regenerates cells within our bodies that become our bodies. Our hair, skin, nails, teeth, organ tissues, bones, everything is made from what we eat. And a variety of foods helps us avoid malnourishment. A good way to gauge this visually is to eat a vast variety of colors. If your plate is mostly brown or white, you're missing a lot of key vitamins and minerals, which may lead to health issues that requires a much more rigorous protocol to reverse. The colors of plants are actually indicators of their phytonutrients, which is just a fancy word for the vitamins and minerals that come from a plant. Eat the rainbow as often as possible, and you will give your body the best chance for staying healthy independently. Now, I also want to point out the biblical perspective on this. God gives us a massive list of foods that He made for our food. He literally says in Genesis chapter 9, all the animals of the earth, all the birds of the sky, all the small animals that scurry along the ground, and all the fish in the sea will look on you with fear and terror. I have placed them in your power. I have given them to you for food, just as I have given you grain and vegetables and seed-bearing plants and fruit trees, according to Genesis chapter 1, verse 29. Think about that for a second. Everything that encompasses. So if we stick to chicken, broccoli, and rice for weeks on end, we are missing out on all of that creation God said was for us. He does later revise the specifics on this broad list in the book of Leviticus when giving the law of Moses. And I do dive deep into that in my book, The Guide to Eating Biblically in a Modern World. So if you want to discover more on those details of what God said is and isn't for our food, definitely snag a copy from my website, coachrain.com/book. So that's the second principle of what I eat as a Bible-based nutritionist. As much variety and as many combinations of a diamond meal based on the foods that God said was for our food as possible. The next principle is to eat locally. Not just because I think it's important to support small family businesses, but there is so much benefit to eating what's grown in your region. First, food is much fresher by the time it gets to your kitchen, simply because it takes far less time to travel from Billy Bob's family farm down the road than it does to get Florida oranges to North Dakota. The fresher, the tastier, the more likely we are to opt for real foods versus the fake stuff made with a bunch of flavor enhancers. Secondly, eating the food grown close to home can significantly help with allergens. It helps us build a tolerance to the pollens in our regions, and as someone who definitely struggles with allergies, this is a God-sent strategy to help keep those under control. And thirdly, is thirdly a word? The third thing, the other reason I emphasize eating locally raised food is because by nature of it not having to travel across the country, which often takes days, and then sit on a grocery store shelf for several days before finally reaching your kitchen where you don't want it to spoil right away, eating locally raised food decreases the need for and use of artificial preservatives. Did you know that the average grocery store apple is actually a year old? It's picked, and then some apples are even treated with 1-methylcyclopropene. I may or may not have said that totally incorrectly. 1-MCP, which is a gas that blocks the ethylene compound, further extending their shelf life, and then stored in a refrigeration unit to slow the ripening process, and then they can be sold year-round. And this happens with a lot of produce in order to get tropical fruits to a non-tropical area and cold weather produce to warm climate areas. And when our food is treated with those preservatives, we do consume it. Which brings me to my next principle for eating biblically as a nutritionist, and that is to eat seasonally. Again, eating with the seasons minimizes your risk of eating food that's actually months old, but treated with chemicals to last longer. But what I find even more compelling is that God made everything to have cycles, including vegetation and our needs as humans during different seasons. For example, fruits are more abundant during warm climate seasons and in warm climate regions, which are rich in carbohydrates. These carbohydrates help keep us, you guessed it, hydrated during the longer, hotter summer days. And then conversely, the dense winter squashes and root vegetables that do best cooked low and slow thrive during the colder winter months and in cooler climate regions, where soups and stews become a staple. Pretty cool, huh? So eating watermelon in northern Michigan during January really isn't advantageous for the natural cyclical rhythms God created. Here's a passage from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 through 8 and 15 that I think sums it up perfectly. For everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to cry and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to turn away, a time to search and a time to quit searching, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be quiet and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What is happening now has happened before, and what will happen in the future has happened before, because God makes the same things happen over and over again. Listen, when we try to ignore these God-designed cycles and seasons, we eventually face consequences. Even as simple as feeling like changing your body composition is impossible. The more we work with the cycles, the easier it is to stay healthful and achieve a body that reflects that. Those are the main tenets of exactly what I eat as a Bible-based nutritionist. I don't eat the same thing every day. In fact, I try to change it up as much as possible. But I do so in a framework that's easy to swap out individual variables, so it doesn't feel like reinventing the wheel every week. I also eat locally and seasonally, which honestly tend to go hand in hand, because all of this is how we were designed. And the more we listen to what the owner's manual says about how to properly fuel this incredible vessel we were given to do life in, the longer the life and the more enjoyable that life will be. If you've been looking for a way to prioritize health, especially your nutrition, and would appreciate a biblical approach to making lasting changes that you can rest confidently knowing that you are stewarding your body with integrity and it doesn't consume all your time and energy, I invite you to join me in The Sustainable Way, my one-on-one nutrition coaching program where I give you everything you need to make healthy eating your default, consistent lifestyle, all backed by God's living word, with the support of a fellow sister in Christ. Simply head to coachrain.com/nutrition coaching to learn more about the coaching process, ask me questions directly, and get started as soon as today. And sis, I can hardly wait to walk this journey with you.
I pray this episode was helpful to you, my friend. If so, could you do me a massive favor and take 30 seconds to write a review? This is the best way to bless me big and help more people learn just how simple eating healthy consistently can be. And if you want more value-packed info from me, head to coachrain.com and sign up for the Weekly Harvest, my weekly emails filled with recipes, how to use food as medicine, biblical nutrition, and more. That's coachreign.com for the Weekly Harvest. Blessings until next time, sis. Toodles.